I have Mike on for a very special reason. You may have heard that the Leafs just had a very bad loss. Blowing a
What?
5-1 lead. What was it? A 1% chance of happening? We'll see.
Point one.
Less.
Point one.
Less.
Point one.
1%. The sense of an amazing comeback. And well, Alex and Mike were on a Zoom, not a Zoom call, a FaceTime together. While you were
A face call. Yeah.
A FaceTime face audio call. Face to face. So I want to ask first off, guys, and we'll start with Mike here. How do you feel a few days removed from the Sens' monstrous comeback?
Well, as a noted Sens fan, I think it's. I'm sorry. I'm still laughing till this day, man. I'm not upset at all. I'm just laughing. It's just, when it comes to a point where you're a fan of a certain team or something, but they just keep surprising you or proving you wrong every time that you don't think that they can surprise you even more. Like, it's come to the point where I've just become hysterical to this team. Hysterical.
Mm-hmm. Alex,
How about you, Alex?
You're looking kind of sad there.
Don't even. Yeah, I am. I'm pissed off. Like, listen. Okay, there's a couple things. I've been listening to a couple guys on TV, radio talking about this, and they called it a road bump or a bump in the road. And like, okay, that's fine. Like, yes, in the grand scheme of things, it's one game and whatever. But I just watched my team lose a 4-goal lead and then lose in overtime again. How many times do I have to go through this? Mm-hmm. I'm 20. I've seen it more times than like a Tampa Bay fan combined.
Oh, come on. They won.
Yeah.
No, but I've seen more losses, this team blow leads, than like any other team, I swear.
It's, I remember, so it all sort of started towards the end of the second period with John Tavares, who has been getting a lot of criticism over the past, I would say, week and a half or something?
Yeah.
Feels like much longer whenever there's sort of criticism around the Leafs, especially when there's a loss. And then from there, I think what DJ Smith said after like the Sens' third goal, that he's never felt so bad having a 5-3 lead because the signs were there.
Sheldon Keefe.
Yeah. I've never heard a coach before in my life say that they were worried of a 5-3 lead. It is kind of comical to hear.
I'm dumbfounded.
You knew they were complacent.
So do something about it. Yeah. I don't know. Like the 20-year-old had to figure this out. Sitting on his couch watching a hockey game, had to figure out, instead of saying you felt complacent, like try to do something. I got no indication from any guy any guy who talked that they actually tried to change their mentality in that game.
Is there a single guy to blame here, or it's just the whole team?
Apparently, William Nylander. Sorry, yeah.
It's all William Nylander.
What? I don't understand. Because it's every time this team loses, and it's not always William Nylander, but they always pinpoint one specific player. I think Mike, we watched the game together. I couldn't tell you what happened in the first and the second period because, I forgot. I remember the third period. There was it wasn't an individual player who lost us that game. It's not like Freddie was horrible. Riley was horrible. Tavares was horrible. Like, everyone was horrible.
It was a collective mindset loss. It was just like Matthew said. It was just, they just got lackadaisical.
I'd actually like to ask you a question, Mike, because as someone who's played on a team, have you ever had, I guess, a collapse like this where, what is the mentality of a team when they're going through that?
It's really interesting because it's really true in the sense that when you're going in for an intermission before you go out there, again, it really does change a lot. Like, you really do rely on your coaches, and especially the boys in the room to come together and say, okay, we have them where we want them to be, especially 5-1. You don't want to go into the room and think, okay, foot off the gas. Like, let's just ride this out. No, you're in that room and you're thinking, okay, let's absolutely not be embarrassed in the most worst way possible. So yeah, I think a lot of that goes. I don't know what goes on in that room. Obviously, who knows if they got in the room, they're all happy, yeah, and then they're like, we played 40 minutes, we don't have to play the rest of the 20 minutes. No, so it's it's a lot of it comes down to coaching. You really need the coaches to come. Well, if you're a good team player, a good motivator, then you can do a lot of it yourself. But you do rely obviously on your the head of your team there, your coach, to tell you, hey guys, like, let's dial in here. We still have 20 more minutes to play. I know you guys think we're done, but we're not. So clearly something didn't happen there. And ultimately this game, like I said, it purely came down to a lackadaisical effort that I believe came from the locker room. The coaches didn't get the players prepared. The players themselves didn't want to get prepared to play another 20 minutes, and it showed.
I have a question, Mike. Does that loss happen? I asked Alex this, so I'd love to get your and Daniel's thoughts here. Does that loss happen if Wayne Simmons is playing?
That's a really interesting question, actually. That's a tough one. I mean, you see the effect that he's had on the boys, like on the team, as not just as an absolute speedster out there that has fought more for the Leafs than we've had since the days of Marty. But I don't know. I don't think it'd be as disastrous. Honestly, truth to tell you, I think. But at the same time, you can say that when you have, for example, Joe Thornton on the team, right? Joe Thornton's still a veteran presence, a leader, and he's a player that's come back from a 4-1 down 4-1 in a Game 7 loss, in a Game 7 win. So I don't know. I don't really think it would make that much of, because at the end of the day, yeah, Simmons can impact the game no matter what. But I don't think in a 5-1 game, he's going to go out there and do what he usually does to get the boys going and change their mentality. And he's not going to go out there and fight them when it's 5-1, 5-2. He's not going to start being the aggressive. He'll lay some hits out, don't get me wrong. But if you have a player like Joe Thornton out there already and he can't motivate the boys like that, or even Zach Bogosian, who's a Stanley Cup winner, I don't know. I don't think it really would have made a tremendous amount of difference. I mean, maybe in another world we can replay this and who knows, the Leafs could have won that, but that's really tough to speculate when he just wasn't there.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Mike that as much as I think Wayne Simmons brings a lot to the team, there is a lot of people on this team, the leadership aspect there, that they weren't really lacking with anything. And if I even look at like Frederick Anderson, where again, people are going to say, oh, like it's another tale of Freddie, but like a lot of people forget too, like this is a guy that also made it to the conference finals with the Ducks. It's a guy that, he's played the volume of games like throughout his whole career that we always see, that I just didn't see as an excuse that, if you have this one guy not slot into the lineup, that everything seems to be falling apart. Because like I think too that even on the top 6 guys, the onus was on them to, like what Mike said, like don't get your foot off the gas, like keep going, even if it means lighting the lamp even more, like which I would have been okay seeing.
Alex, I'll ask you to give your opinion off of the text now on the pod.
Yeah, I disagree with both of you. I think he would have had an impact. I think what he brings is different than Thornton and Bogosian, because I think Bogosian's just tough generally. I think Joe Thornton has the leadership mentality, but I think Wayne Simmons will go out of his way to be extra tough. And it's not when you're down 5-1, and it's not when you're down 5-2, when you're up 5-1, up 5-2. It's when you're up 5-3 and you're up 5-4. And he's going to, and I mean, he should be, and obviously hindsight's 2020, but he should be absolutely pissed. It's the same thing, the argument that people are making when Jason Spezza dropped the gloves in whatever game it was against Columbus. There was an extra extra something on that bench after Jason Spezza fought. I think it was Dean Coogan, right? And I don't know who the hell he would have fought. He would have fought somebody, or he would have beat the crap out of somebody. I don't know, but I think he would have brought something extra, and I don't think that it would have been bad, but I don't think it would have been, because even if you're up 5-1 and you win the game 5-4, you almost blew a 4-goal lead. That's bad, right? But you still won the game.
He'd fight like Eric Goodbranson. I'm sure he'd be
Probably, yeah.
I think it's a little different in the sense though, like we've just seen so many instances of this Leafs team where no matter what the circumstance, they can be up a couple goals or they can be down a couple goals. And even if, for example, Simmons is out there, he's dishing it, he's trying to get guys motivated. There are a lot of instances where this team will play with one guy. They'll have one guy playing and the rest of them kind of with their foot off their gas. So I can totally see where if Simmons is there, yes, if it's a 5-3 lead, if it's a 5-4 lead, now he's getting the boys to go. But nonetheless, there's still so many instances with this. I know it's different. Season per season is always a new season, a new game's a new game. But the track record with this team is too great for me to think that it would be any more than just one player kind of playing.
But we've never had a guy like Simmons. Like,
that's true.
Right? So, like, last year it was Jason Spezza, I guess. And you even saw it with Clifford. Like, I think when they traded for Clifford and Gamble, and, Clifford came out, was throwing hits and stuff like that, you saw a difference in Kapanen. You saw a difference in Dermott. Like, you saw differences in guys that you haven't seen before. And that's why I think with Simmons, Simmons brings that extra something that no one else on this team has. Like, Zach Bogosian's just tough, right? Like, he's a big guy and he's not afraid to throw his body around. Wayne Simmons is big, but he goes out of his way sometimes to be tough. And I think that's the difference maker.
But I wouldn't want to discredit a player like Joe Thornton or anything, because Joe Thornton is that kind of motivator. He's the kind of team motivator. He's known as one of the best leaders throughout his entire Hall of Fame career. And
right.
So I genuinely, I totally see what you're saying with Simmons. He's a Wayne train.
Yeah.
He's the best Wayne to ever play hockey. But
I don't know.
But
yeah.
but I don't see it. I don't.
You do wonder though, is like, listen, Jumbo, how old is Jumbo Joe Thornton now?
41.
41.
Yeah, around there.
Wayne Simmons can still assert himself physically on the ice, and you wonder if that part of Simmons' game, if there's a big hit or something, could have influenced it. I want to keep going on the Leafs in a bit.
Just 1 second quickly.
Yeah.
The thing that worries me that with what Mike is saying, because I think he's not wrong when it comes to Joe Thornton, is that if Joe Thornton can't motivate this team, who can? They brought in Marlowe, that worked for a little bit. But Mike Babcock, that worked for a little bit. Spezza worked for a little bit and it died off. If it can't be Jumbo Joe, like, that's what worries me. I mean, like, it's more of a concern. Like, what you're saying is true, but I don't want it to be true.
So you've just brought up something really funny, Marlowe. What number did Marlowe wear?
12.
Because I'm pretty sure we were asking this before the show. We're going to continue on this in a second. I want to ask you guys about Toronto's next game versus the Sens and that. And I'll tell you about the Sens themselves quickly, because they've won 4 games. They've all been against the top 3 teams in the North Division. Because the Sens. Before that, I believe I saw that this guy was actually wearing Marlowe's number. That is the newest member of the Toronto Maple Leafs, coming from Carolina after he got waived. Former Montreal Canadian 3rd overall pick in the 2012 draft. How bad does it look now? Alex Shenyuk is now a Toronto Maple Leaf.
You getting his jersey, Adam?
Galley.
Oh, he left. He was so upset.
He got so mad that you said that.
So upset that he left. Man, like, that's such an odd trade. Like, you didn't really give anything up, I guess, in terms of the Leafs perspective. You didn't give up much.
leaving the call was to absolutely say no. I'm not getting.
Oh,
it.
Okay, just
I
making
did
sure.
not lag out. I was just so disgusted.
We figured that you would have
Yeah.
just been so offended.
Yeah.
Uh,
God, no. I am not. No. There's a new 27 in my life, and his name is Alexander Romanov. God, no. But guys, Alex Galchenyuk.
yeah. I was just saying you didn't give up much to get Alex Galchenyuk, and I guess it's just another Jimmy VC experiment or whatever we're calling it. Like Igor Korshkov, yes, he played a game, scored a goal.
Gonna miss him.
I
Big
don't
body,
know.
Scored for the Calder Cup. Why it's the first pick in the second round.
I don't know what Korshkov was going to be on this team.
He was never going to come back. He would have probably,
Right.
if he was on the taxi squad this year, I 100%, I think he would have played a couple games.
Yeah,
I
but
think
I
he would
guess
have.
he stayed in Russia, did he not?
Yeah, that's why. If he was here to play if he was here, he would have been on the taxi squad, and he would have been alternating. I don't even know if he stayed. I don't even know if we'd have Travis Boyd. I don't know if we'd have Nick Patan down there. Even Barabanov. He's a better Russian player than Barabanov because he's played more games in the NHL, and overall he's just a bigger body presence. But yeah, with him going to Russia this year, he wasn't going to play here this year. He has 1 year left on his deal, if I'm not mistaken. And Warsawski, he was part of the Kapanen trade, I believe. And he was like, look at that D depth chart. You can barely fit Dermott in there. You can't even fit Sandin in there. Warsawski's easily like 2 spots below Sandin, 3 spots below Sandin. Like he wasn't going to get a shot.
Is he above Martin Marincin?
No one's.
Unfortunately, I don't think he's below Marty just because Marty's played in the NHL. But he was lower than even Liljegren. He was lower than. So
yeah. I mean, listen, like he's probably going to play for this team a little bit. I think the team's starting.
You say that so excitedly.
Wait, listen. Like, what is Alex Galchenyuk going to be on this team? A 4th line guy? Like you said when we were talking. Like they're probably, and other people have said on the air, like they're probably getting fed up with Jimmy VC a little bit.
If you saw, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I was reading an article on the Athletic today. Yes, it was by Siegel. It's such a great name, Jonas Siegel. And he was talking about how Jimmy VC's. Well, he was late to the party because I already said it first, obviously. But he's running out of chances. But he had a pretty interesting picture of VC talking to Keefe after practice, where Patan and Engvall were out on the ice. They were shooting pucks after. McKay was getting ready to shoot some pucks after, so they stayed on the ice after. And VC was on too, and he had about a 15-minute conversation with Keefe, just by the boards. And he's in that position where he's holding his stick to his hand. He's like kind of like this while he's like listening to Keefe, and didn't really see any smiling throughout that conversation. So, and the day before at practice, same thing. He had a conversation. Today was longer, but he had a conversation with him after practice yesterday. So you wonder what the dealio was with Jimmy Harvard.
I mean, worst case here is one of VC or Galchenyuk is on the taxi squad or with the Marlies.
Yeah. I know Gino Reda, he commented on this after the trade just happened, that it's a mystery like what you're having with Alex Galchenyuk, because he is not defensively sound enough to be in the bottom 6, and I don't think he's going to push too many people. So he called him like an emergency stopgap in a way, because I think, big emphasis on the emergency, because what we talked about last year was, he had the opportunity in Minnesota to kind of rebuild his value, because that team has no scoring at all. And he didn't deliver. He struggled even more than he did on Pittsburgh.
Which sucked because he really started to get a lot better. Or sorry, no, I'm thinking of VC for a second. No. But he completely looked out of place in every team he's gone to ever since Montreal treated him so badly.
just waiting.
There was fault on both sides. I can't disagree. By the time Claude Julien got hold of him after tear and was let go, there was no coming back.
It was a lost cause.
It was too late.
I think it's interesting because, I mean, look, Jimmy Vesey was brought in because he's brought in for $900,000 because you lost Kapanen and you lost Janssen because you needed to make your roster better and you need money to do that, and those guys cost money. And so a cheap reclamation project. The Leafs have done that plenty of times. Hell, look at Jason Spezzi. He's doing great for a Leagueman deal. Or even Tyler Ennis when he signed a year or two ago. But when it comes to VC, he was brought in to try and reclaim some of that offense, or reclaim, even more importantly, he was brought in to be a player like Janssen and Kapanen who benefit from playing with players that are better than them because they can be a complementary piece, a complementary player. And in his entire time there, he's been given chances. He's been given chances to play even on the second line with JT and Marner, or with Nylander, or when Thornton went down, he was the first look to play with Matthews and Marner on that top line. And the entire time so far, he has 1 assist and 2 goals this season. And in every single Maple Leafs report cards after, I think by Myrtle, it's always the same thing, just nothing to see here. So, you bring him in to be a complimentary player, but he really hasn't even been complimenting any of these players at all. And he doesn't look, I mean, don't get me wrong, it can come to both sides. I mean, who knows if he got a couple more chances. I hesitate when I say this, if he can get a couple chances on the power play. But here's the thing. I know that sounds a little bit off, but you also had Travis Boyd at one point on your top power play unit. You've had Nick Patan on your top power play unit. Keefe is very much open to experimenting and trying things around. So if he really wants to maximize his potential with this player, I'm not saying throw him on the top line power play unit for 3 games in a row. I'm just saying you really got to work on trying to find something out of Jimmy Vesey, or he's really a lost cause for the year, and you got to hope that Galchenyuk can step in, or hope that you bring Robertson back up and he can play in that kind of spot. But yeah.
I think the difference between what he did with Boyd and Patan and what he's doing with VC is that, like, I think both of us could agree when he did that, at least those guys were popping out on the page. Like Boyd looked for a guy who's brought in, who, listen, like when we were talking about Boyd, who the hell thought he was going to play an NHL game, let alone be somewhat consistent in this lineup?
He fell out of favor in training camp. He didn't look great in training camp.
So, like, I think Boyd and Patan somewhat impressed. Like, I think when I was watching them play, yes, Patan in his own zone is an absolute pain in the ass to watch. But I think with VC, I haven't really seen anything that's been very impressive at all to earn, hey, here's power play time, etc.
I think a second unit Gouch on the power play. Listen, if there was anything that's been in his repertoire, is the guy can make a pass and he has a shot. Like, I'm not just saying 30. I'm not being the guy saying, yo, Alex Galchenyuk, former 30. I'm not doing that anymore. But like, there is offensive talent there. And listen, there were times in Montreal when he didn't get along with Michel Therrien, and he was on like the 4th line with like Andreas Martinson, and he'd make this pass that if it was at any legitimate NHL player that had any sort of finishing ability, there's a for sure goal.
And they also moved into wing, don't forget.
Yeah, there is talent there with Gouch, all right? Even if he... And again, the Leafs are an organization that are just so... Like, you got to look at where Gouch has been the past couple of years. Arizona, we're going to talk about them later. Not very well run. Minnesota, they don't know what they're doing. They haven't for a couple of years now. Pittsburgh, by then he was going through the rinse cycle. So I think there is a legitimate chance that I hate to see it because I don't want him being effective on the Leafs and then boom, he plays the Canadians and then something goes wrong. But there's something there for Gouch. Now, when he plays, who knows? Play him Saturday. Let's see what happens. Make it some fun. So looking forward to tonight, the Leafs have their Sens game again. I believe then again tomorrow. It's a back-to-back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All games in Toronto, you love to see it.
Murray's playing tonight too.
Well, then
They better shell him. I don't even care. 10 goals. I couldn't care less.
that there's the question then is what are you expecting? And it may be as easy as, you know what, we could be seeing a 5-0 just sort of shelling of the Ottawa Senators tonight. But just more, deeper than that, what do you expect out of the Leafs? And besides Austin Matthews scoring a goal, which seems to happen every day now.
I have a very simple answer. Better than what the hell that was in the third period. Like, it's that simple. Maybe my expectations are too low, but that's it. That's the bar. Like, anything better than that third period, I'm content with. Because I said it last episode. I said, because I didn't think they played phenomenal in that second game against Montreal on Saturday. I said, you cannot walk into a game with Ottawa and be complacent and play like you did against Montreal, which was a below average, in my opinion, for the team in general. What did they do? They spent the first couple periods looking pretty damn good. Austin Matthews was with a phenomenal goal, best shape of his life. And I don't know what the third period was. Anonymous source, don't worry about it, guys. I have insiders. That's my bar. Pretty low.
Okay, and then I'll send it over to Daniel, and then Mike will finish us off.
Honestly, yeah, I think it's just, they have the talent, they know what to do to score. It's just to tighten things up. And yeah, that's the thing. Like, don't be complacent. Just play your game and don't think about. I guess, like, when you have that in your mind, like the don't collapse mentality. Just don't think of that. Just keep playing your game for the full 60 minutes.
And that's a very important thing that you bring up too, Dan, because even though you are playing, with that underlying narrative following that last game, you never want to play like that. You never want to play like, oh my God, we're stepping on eggshells as soon as we get on that ice. So that's a very, very good point.
The feeling when the Leafs blow a 5-1 lead.
Oh my gosh.
What is that what we're laughing at? Go watch the YouTube version of the show.
I was ruthless.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, all right. Well, lads, I think that was good fun. Mike, thank you very much for coming on.
Hold up. I didn't get to tell my story, eh?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh, is this the jinxing, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's all
So
Mike's
first
fault.
off, I will be wearing this bad boy for tonight.
That's your retro reverse Leafs Austin Matthews jersey.
So
What's the
I'll
story
be
behind it?
I'll be wearing that tonight on the FaceTime. Obviously, you guys are obviously more than welcome to be there. I mean, Alex is always there crying.
I'm gonna wear the Zach Bogosian jersey tonight. Change.
You have
things
to
up.
actually. You have
I
to.
will
Probably
change
gonna
things up.
stream tonight, by the way. So
So
What
what-
Andrew Raycroft?
Nice. So what happened was this is a great moment. What happened? This really cemented. This really kind of creates a vision of what Alex's personal hell is. So, we're watching the game. We're doing our virtual watch party. We actually got started on time. No TV issues for either of us, which is huge. Not even any internet issues on the FaceTime. Huge.
Let's go.
Huge. Because usually we were plagued with these. We're sitting there first two periods. Obviously, the only thing is Alex is delayed. So every time I'm celebrating a goal, Alex is just like, nice. Okay, cool. I'll wait another 15 seconds to watch this goal.
Because Rogers TV. Couldn't tell you.
So it's the third period. It's 5-2 after JT gives that absolute pizza in the middle for Nick Paul. And I'm like, you know what? We're up. I'm going to wear the jersey. Now, the story of the jersey is I wore it last game against Montreal, and the Leafs lost. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to wear it this game. But then it's sitting there, and it's just staring me in the face. And I'm like, it's such a beautiful jersey.
Oh, really?
Contrary to popular belief. I know, highly debated. I love it. Whatever. So I put it on. I'm like, okay. And Alex is like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. So I'm like, no, you know what? We're up 5-2. if the Leafs lose it, it's because they deserve to lose it. Whatever. If they're gonna leave, they're gonna leave. So I put the jersey on, and I say, "What's the worst that can happen?" And I even tell Alex, "I'm not even gonna knock on wood. I'm just gonna let it happen." 1 minute, and Artem Zub goes in for that breakaway right out of the penalty box.
Great move, by the way.
Great name. And then, as Alex calls him, the creative player.
You gotta be in the guy for your NHL for the entry draft. Artem Zub.
And so I'm sitting there, and every time they score, obviously because Alex is delayed. So basically, picture this: I'm looking at my TV, and then I'll just go. He'll hear because he could hear from my AirPods. Quick plug, and then you can hear like, the sound of Gordon Miller, like saying scores, but you won't hear a goal horn. And then I'll just go like this. I'll literally be looking at the screen. I'll just go like.
Oh no.
I'll just make this smirk, and then Alex will be like, he'll just face palm. So finally, they make it 5-4, and I'm just dying at this point. And when they made it 5-3, I started to take the jersey off. And what was your reaction, Alex?
No, don't take the jersey off. We're gonna prove a point. Gonna prove a point here.
So I take the jersey, and Alex also. What did you promise if the Sens came back?
I'd go live on Instagram, which I did. By the way.
So
excellent.
So I'm like, okay, fine. I got to keep it on. I don't know when they scored, like a minute and a half left in the period. And then I'm like, oh my God, we're going into overtime with this. And then what happens? An absolute crazy play, a big save by, I think Dadonov made one of those saves there. Even though Matthews was so clearly open, but Riley still shot it. And then Riley pulled a Shea Weber. He didn't shoulder check, and he didn't even realize that Dadonov was behind him with the puck. And, in that moment, Dadonov, you just know he was going to score. You just knew he was going to score. And then I just looked at Alex, and Alex just buried himself.
Not Dadonov. You have to say it properly now.
Daddy on Family Day.